Hi everyone, good evening and welcome to Womanistaan episode number 6. We have us with here Saira Shah Halim, the famous
Hi, Mehnaaz.
author and the activist, and she's also done a short film. Welcome aboard to Womanistaan episode number 6, Saira. It's a
Thank you,
real
Dr.
pleasure
Mehnaaz.
and an honor
Thank
to
you.
have you. Could you please
Thank
share
you
with
so
all my
much.
viewers your journey from all the time that you have started till now?
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Mehnaaz. Well, I was born in Calcutta. My father was in the army. So like as any army kid, we were brought up across India. And then, I did my schooling from different schools. I must have changed about 11, 12 schools, all in all, because every 2 years, your father's tenure and the city changes. Sometimes it is what you call in Punjab, or sometimes it's somewhere in the wilderness in the Northeast. So, so I had a pretty interesting life. And then he just felt that we needed a stable education, and then he put my brother and me, like we have 4 siblings. I have an older sister. I'm number 2. Then I have 2 brothers. One brother is 1 year younger than me, and he was in the army. So he put my brother Ali and me in a boarding school in Ooty. So I was there at Lovedale, Lawrence School, Lovedale, and then was there for a couple of years. Then my father, he got posted to Saudi Arabia, Riyadh. He was the defense attache of India to Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and Kuwait. So we shifted there, did my 11th and 12th from there. Came back to India, did my graduation from Sophia College, Ajmer. Then I did my master's in literature. And then I got married after my graduation. I completed my post-graduation after I got married. And then I started working because I just felt it's important to remain, busy and play a constructive role in society. So for that, you have to keep upgrading your skill set. And I feel even if you work, it really enhances your experience, your work experience, and overall you become much more sharper and for good. I was in corporate boots for good about 14, 15 years in training, development, learning and development primarily. And then I moved on, and I felt that I was getting involved with politics, with social issues across the country, political activism. So I felt that demanded a lot of time, and you couldn't do it, because all the time when you're putting out your views out there, it might represent the organization's views, it might be. So once you're independent, then you don't have to bother so much, you don't have so much of ownership that, okay. So I felt it was important at this point of time to play a bigger role in society and the nation at large. And then I got full time into social work and activism. So now I write, I'm a political commentator, social commentator. I'm there on most of the television channels on political, social
In fact,
issues.
you're almost every day. I have been
Yeah.
watching Aaj Tak and I've been watching Republic, and Saira is there.
So that's what is happening. And then been doing a lot of work in writing, promoting poetry, promoting writing. And my husband and I, we run the lowest cost dialysis center in Eastern India. So our NGO, Kolkata Swast Sankalp, it provides dialysis for 50 rupees, and especially during this pandemic, uh, we have tried to support the underprivileged as much as we can. So that's me in a nutshell. And I've got 2 young children, 2 girls. So that keeps my hands quite full. They are in the middle of their half-yearly exam.
Great. Okay, coming to a few of my questions, Saira. Could you comment on the present scenario of the celebrity women status in India? What's happening? You start the TV and you see it's all about the women in Bollywood, in the celebrity world. And do you think these women right now are the soft targets of something really bigger happening?
See, I think, see, we have to be very clear. This whole drugs thing that is coming out, it is illegal. Any drug usage, whether for contraband, whether for personal usage, whether it's a cartel or whatever, it's illegal, simple. One shouldn't be consuming it. Personal usage or commercial usage, it is illegal, and it is not done. But what I'm trying to say is the priorities. There are a lot of issues that we are grappling with at the moment, and we need to understand, we need to overhaul our, the healthcare system. Cases somehow they start declining instead of increasing. Then we have the farmers issues. We have a lot of issues at hand. And I feel that today the media and all of us can do a much better report, much better job as far as reportage is concerned, as far as reporting on incidents is concerned. Because people, yes, a lot of people, whether it's corporate, whether in films, they do consume drugs on a on a basis. And I treating again, it shouldn't happen. However, witch hunting of people or giving Bollywood a bad name, singling Bollywood out, that is wrong. That is being politically motivated, and I feel it shouldn't happen. Because if you have to do a cleanup act, do a cleanup act across the world, no?
On a macro level. But, yeah.
Start with the local pan shops that supply, these drugs to these kids. Supply with the states that, grow these poppy and everything.
I'm sure it's going to lead to there. But what happens, these are role models in India. And when there's a lot of fan following them, people look up to them, and anything that they do, they're responsible towards society because they're role models. So right now, when the target is the role models, these people are heroes or are heroines that we ape, we think, we fantasize, we are their fan club, we're crazy for a picture, So basically now the whole scenario is that once the Bollywood is taking care, then there will be a domino effect, which will then lead to corporate and other places. And even I think even in villages, this is happening. But basically, I feel it's the women whose names are flashing on the media constantly. Where are the men? Where are the heroes?
No, the thing is, I think we all know how the media works. It works more on, catching eyeballs and also the TRPs. So there is a lot of interest that's generated because of Sushant Singh Rajput's death. So now what initially started out as a death investigation, like we all loved him, we all cherish his films, everybody's mourning his death.
Yeah.
But however, politicizing a murder, that is wrong, when you feel that you need to politicize it, or if some actresses come up and they feel they need to settle some personal scores. Because here you're a feminist, then if you are calling yourself feminist, why would you talk, bad about some other woman? Or why would you name other actresses as well? So that is not, proper. And I feel that if you're standing up for women, you should stand up for all women, and not just because you have a personal vendetta or a personal, you want to make a personal attack on someone and, blame the entire Bollywood.
My concern is that every time you switch on the media, it's about the women. And the names of the male stars are not given out yet. So why is it, my concern is that why is it that the women are coming in face number 1, number 2, number 3? It's the women that are being spoken about on the media. So that's my concern right now.
India actually has a long way to go. We've always been a patriarchal, misogynistic society. And I feel this whole, it reflects, how we treat women, how we look at the girl child. If there is somebody, if a man does something wrong, or if a man, his life has gone, totally southwards, it's very easy to pinpoint the blame on a woman, because that's the most convenient thing to do. You call her a witch.
Very convenient. Yes. Where are the heroes? Where are the big guys? You know? Okay, coming to my
Yeah,
next
in the
question,
18th century.
Saira, what are your views on, do you say equality for women, or like you said, equity for women? So what are your views on
See,
equity?
see, equality is again a normal creature. Actually, listen, there is no real equality as such. But what we can strive for as a progressive democratic country is to strive for equity, where the girl child and the boy child, they get equal opportunities, in every sphere of life, be it right to education, be it right to choose the partner they want to marry, be it, any other right. Why should we have different rules for a boy child and a girl child? I think there's a lot of gender stereotyping. We stereotype the roles. We always try and say, okay, tumhari to shadi hogi, one day you have to get married. And the boy, we are saving money, for the boy's education, we are saving money for the girl's marriage. Why do we speak like that? Because we are already embedding, we are perpetuating this whole patriarchy again and again. If we don't change, then our future generations don't change. So I feel if we need to nip patriarchy from the bud, we need to be stellar examples ourselves. And we all must ensure that we don't practice any such misogynistic, regressive practices at home. That is very fundamental.
Right. Okay. What according to you, which state in India has the highest number of abuse cases, or where there's an issue about job placements and girl child deaths or marital abuse? Which state is leading in those numbers, and why?
Uh, See, we know that Kerala and Bengal are highly progressive states. Even the south is doing quite well. What is a matter of concern is Uttar Pradesh primarily. Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. It's, if you look at the infanticide cases, if you see the, dowry cases, you look at rapes, and overall, you see women are quite unsafe in Uttar Pradesh as well as Rajasthan. So I feel they should be focused on women's safety in these couple of states.
Okay. And when you say they have to be, you see women's safety, what measures do you think that the government should put in place?
See,
Reforms
we
or
have to
measures?
ensure that there's a fast track courts for all the pending rape cases. We have to ensure that the high and mighty don't get away. We had heard of in Uttar Pradesh this famous, MLA, Mr. Sengar, his case was there. And, so we set a very bad example that if some high and powerful is involved, he will get out on bail very soon. So that is a very wrong message that percolates down, that if you commit some kind of a atrocity of women, be it domestic violence, be it acid attack or something else, the man gets away. The first thing is to reprimand the person and make sure the man is penalized. And also, if you're talking about Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, we have to ensure that the girl child feels safe. Because today also, you open the newspaper, read it on the net, there's so many honor killings, child rapes, and so many different crimes against children, especially the girl child. It is horrific.
So we
And it
have
is not changed.
we have with us mrunalini deshmukh, has just entered. Welcome, Mrunalini, and welcome to Womanistaan episode 6. So I was waiting for you, and since it was a little time difference, so I said let me take in Saira first. So I'll come back to you. I'm just winding up with Saira with the next 1 or 2 questions. So please be there with us. And Saira, coming to my question about widowed women versus divorced women. Why is it that the widowed women are looked at in way of sympathy and empathy, and the divorced women are like a first shot stigma that, oh my God, she's divorced? The first thing that comes in the mind is a negative thought. So how can we change this widowed women empathy? We are not looking at sympathy, right? We're looking at empathy coming from everyone. So how can should we not write a book or talk about it or blog about it, that there has to be a fair view on the way people view widowed women and divorced women? Both have had a severe of ties of relationships.
See, I'll tell you what, any society that has more divorce cases is a progressive society. I'll tell you why. Because that means the women are standing up for themselves. Just because a marriage has, has been there for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, is not necessarily a happy marriage. So I, in fact, asked my husband about it. So many divorce cases are rising. He's like, that's a good sign. That means women are not taking nonsense any longer. They're standing up for themselves. Women are empowered. They're earning for themselves. So high divorce rate is not necessarily a bad thing. Just because India has low divorce cases compared to the rest of the country doesn't, if you look at all the statistics, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are in healthy marriages. So please, let's not think that even for a second, that just because a marriage has continued for 30, 40 years, it happens to be a happy marriage. So yes, widows also, if you see, it was the revivalist movements in Bengal, the Raja Ram Mohan Roy and the Dayanand Saraswati, all the social reformers that they worked so hard to remove the stigma of widowed women. So widowed women also had a tough time. Even now they are, sent off to Vrindavan, and they're sent off to lead a life of penance. So it's not that widows lead a great life, but yeah, we have tried to normalize it, and people don't necessarily have to dress in a white sari, or live life and pray and meditation. People are moving on with their lives, and they know that life is all part and parcel of life, and people are moving on. They are continuing with their daily life.
I would rather have the society not being biased or judgmental towards divorced women and having only sympathy towards widowed women. You know how it goes. So in both the cases, there's a disconnect of a family, something which is not in your control. No one wants to be divorced out of their own will unless there are these circumstances that they're put through. So the way the society looks at them, the way the society sees
that is also changing. I feel it's better to be out of a toxic, unhealthy marriage than to stay in an unhealthy marriage. I believe in that. If you can support yourself, it doesn't, pay to be in a toxic, violent relationship. I really don't understand why women need to endure that when they can afford to walk out. But it's not easy, like I said. It's not that easy. There is a lot of social stigma. There are children involved. There's a lot of other things involved. There are a lot of complications. So it will still take some time for women to, take that bold step and feel that, okay, they are financially dependent and they can, support their children. They are enough. Because it is this misogyny that teaches us, no, unless until the person is not drunk, or unless until he's not hitting you, why would you, like our older generation perhaps didn't look at compatibility as a ground for divorce. But everything is changing. It will take some time. It will.
Okay. Coming on to, thank you, Saira, so much. So I would like to welcome Mrunalini Deshmukh with us. So Mrunalini Deshmukh is an author, and she's a very famous, renowned lawyer. So Mrunalini Deshmukh, it's really a pleasure. She's my dear friend. She had launched my book, It's a Girl, also. So we have Mrunalini Deshmukh here with us. Saira, could you say a hello to?
Hello, hi. Nice seeing you. Yes. Hi, nice seeing you.
Nice meeting you too.
Yes, and Mrunalini, please do tell us about your book that I saw on Amazon today. And I said, oh my God, I must get hold of this book.
Okay, so what happened is the Penguin publications, they approached me and they said that there has never been a book in India with regards to divorce, because you know how the Indian society, nobody wants to read about divorce, nobody wants to give such kind of books. But however, they said that it doesn't have to be a legal book. It doesn't have to be a book for law students or for lawyers. They wanted someone, because if you see cases like family law in general, whether it's divorce, whether it's child custody, alimony, sort of status of the marriage, etc., are also well legislations in that sense. So it affects the society per se, depending on what the things are. So they wanted me to write something which is based on my experiences that I have dealt with, whatever the number of cases, and to make them into what are the various segments, like if it was divorce, what are the different kinds of cases that I dealt with, and what are the basic laws. So somebody who is not a lawyer, but somebody who probably is exploring the possibility of going to a divorce has a first-hand knowledge about generally what it is, so that uncertainty is not there. It could also mean for people who are not going for divorce, but they just want to know what the whole thing is. So with that view in mind, I have written that book, which is called Breaking Up, Step by Step, Your Guide to Divorce. So this was under the Shobha Day series, which was there. And apparently this book was well received, is what I'm told. Because more importantly, is because it dealt with the current subject that everybody is facing, not personally, but around them. Of course, me as a lawyer, I see this every day. But you as non-lawyers, you also see in your friends, in your family, in your extended circles, you see a lot of these things happening. So somewhere to give you a little bit of an idea without getting into the detailing or make it very boring with the legal jargon which is there, just to get an idea, that was the purpose behind this book. And so, yeah, so that's where we are.
I'm going to get that book and recommend it to all my viewers over here. Coming to my next question is, what is the most challenging case of divorce that has, I know all of them are special and close to your heart, and you have more than the divorce, you've got so many families back together. So what was the most challenging issue that you faced in any of your divorce cases?
So strangely, Mehnaaz, it deals with the Muslim law. So I will not going to take the names, I was dealing with, it was one of the celebrity cases that I was doing, wherein the husband and the wife, they had married once, but they did not complete their divorce. So there was one divorce, as you know. Of course, now the law has expounded, and with the Supreme Court judgments, a different thing. There was one divorce which was there. Thereafter, they again came back together and they got married. Okay. Thereafter, again, they had some issues and they went into the court. So when they went to the court, the husband comes up and he says that my wife, I'm a Muslim, she's a Muslim. Oh, yes, this is what all happened. But my wife has not performed halala. And as a result of which, she is no longer my wife, and only a wife with whom I remarry, she has to perform halala. The surprising part of this entire case was that the lower court held that yes, the Islamic law prescribes that the woman has to go through halala. And for those of us who are in this audience, or those people who are not there, let me just explain to you what is a halala, because it's very important to understand how archaic and how oppressive this kind of provision is there in the law, and of course misogynist also. So halala is a provision that when a husband and a wife get married, and suppose husband pronounces talaq, triple talaq, or whatever the case may be, and in the fit of anger or whatever he does it, and then after some time he realizes that no, I want to get back with the same woman, or the woman is also willing to go back to the same man, because as they say, known devil is better than the unknown devil, and she wants to start with the marriage. The Islamic Sharia law is what we were told. Of course, I didn't have much knowledge about it. The Islamic Sharia law, I'm told, is that this woman, if she wants to get back to her original husband, as per the Sharia, she has to undergo one more marriage with somebody else. It could be a marriage which could last for 2 days, 3 days, 2 months, whatever. Consummate the marriage. So it cannot be that you just get married for the sake of marriage and you don't touch each other. Consummate the marriage, then divorce that man, and then you can go back to your original husband. So this all the woman had to do. And why? There's no answer in the law. Why? There is no reasoning which has been given. But that's the way it was going on, and that's what. So when I was dealing with this case in the lower court, in the family court said, of course, this is the Islamic law, and the woman has to undergo halala. If she has not undergone halala, and if she's got married to her, all her rights under the law, that of a wife, are no longer in existence. So we were obviously taken aback. I was representing the woman. We went to the High Court and we challenged the order of the lower court. And the High Court very rightly held in our favor. Number one, holding that one divorce is not a complete divorce. And secondly, they have given a very detailed judgment in which they have expressed their views. See, a court cannot interfere into a personal law of any party, or because that is your freedom to religion is there under Article 25 of the Constitution of India. Each one of us is free to believe in a particular faith and propagate that and follow that. So they did not make anything about it, but at the same time, as judges of the High Court, they view that this is an extremely oppressive provision which is there in law. And that the recommendation was that why should a woman be asked to compromise her dignity? Why should she be humiliated in such a manner just because some such things existed maybe 5,000 years back or whatever the case may be? So then, of course, the law was, so the order was in my favor. The court held that the marriage between my client and that celebrity was a legal, valid marriage. And then we went through all those proceedings which were there. But this, I must tell you, Mehnaaz, that every case teaches you, and this was one case which prompted me to read much more about the Islamic law than what I had done otherwise as a lawyer and as a student of law. But this really made me understand the extent to which the women have undergone humiliation and they have undergone such kind of mental agony at the hands of this patriarchal, misogynist society. This is not about any religion. This is general statement that I'm making, but I'm just taking a reference to this particular thing. And that made me realize that the fight for the women's and the gender equality or the fight for the women's empowerment is so essential if a woman has to lead a life of dignity and a life of, sort of some kind of grace. I think this is very important.
Absolutely. That's why the last episode was with Noorjahan, Safia Niaz and Zakia Soman. They had the all over India Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan. So they had fought and they had put in a petition. You must be knowing about them or heard of them, about triple talaq.
Shaira Banu, yes.
About triple talaq. Now they are also planning to do something for polygamy. What are your views on polygamy, Mrunalini? Do you think it's fair? And I've had so many cases where the non-Muslims are converting to Islam, becoming a Muslim for the sake of getting a second marriage done, because the Hindu law does not permit.
Okay, so I'll answer. There are two parts to this question. Number one, I'll give you my views on polygamy. Polygamy may have been at that point of time, let's say, hundreds of years back, relevant, which is what the propagators say, for the protection of the woman. That there was one man and he protected 4 women because, for example, he protected 4 women because they were 4 wives. Otherwise, if the women were left by themselves, there would be vultures who would have sort of, finished them off. That is the justification that they gave.
And also, today we have in earlier years, when there were so many wars happening, there were lots of widows, so that the men could provide sustenance. Am I right, Saira? So they also
the women were outnumbering the men. So, but it's not necessary that what happened yesterday is, has to be practiced today. That's what the practicality has to be seen, and also whether it's morally right.
So in today's times, just to give you a parallel example, sorry, even under the Hindu law, prior to the codification of the law, which was in the year 1955, when the Hindu code was made, a Hindu man could have more than one wife. Okay, that is what the custom was. That was what the thing went on. When the codification came, it made one man, one woman marriage only to be, that is a monogamous marriage, to be the only valid marriage. So unless you have a legislation to that effect, which is very firm on it, which believes that there is only has to be monogamy if a marriage has to be held valid and subsisting, only then I think that will bring about a change into this. Because it's very convenient for people to go under the garb of my religion and my faith and my custom. Nobody's going to come and question you and say, I'm allowed to do this. And sorry to put it in a euphemistic manner, get away with murder. So this is something in my view is obviously has to be banned. Zakia also, I know her very well. I have met her in a couple of conferences where we've spoken on this subject also. And of course, she's doing a tremendous and a phenomenal job with regards to the rights of the Muslim women. So polygamy, I think See the difficulty, and I must share this with you as a lawyer, the difficulty that the courts have, and I do understand where they are coming from, that there is an article in the Constitution which gives you the freedom of religion and the freedom to practice and propagate what your religion is. At the same time, you are asking the courts here that please see this part of the religion is not good, that sort of angle of the religion is not good. So the court is also at times in a quandary that we want to do social good, we want to do for the welfare of the larger section, whether it's women, children, or whatever the case may be. But we are also bound by the constitutional principles within which we have, we are sort of confined. So that is where but obviously you triple talaq. Triple talaq is an excellent landmark judgment which really sets aside everything which is there and gives that respect to the woman which was not granted under the Islamic law. Now, coming back to the second part of the question is that nowadays you see cases where Hindus are converting to Islam because they want to, they are unable to get a divorce from the first wife and they want to get remarried for the second time. Now, these were a number of cases that had come to the Supreme Court way back in 1984 or a little before that. Okay, the famous case was the Sarla Mudgal versus Union of India. All these cases came where all these women in different parts of the country, somebody in Hyderabad, some in Bangalore, some in Bombay, some in Delhi, they were faced with this situation that their Hindu husband said, this is my second wife, I'm no longer a Hindu, I'm a Muslim, I've just converted myself and I can have more than. So their plight was that I'm a Hindu, he's a Hindu, we got married under the Hindu Marriage Act. How can he just unilaterally convert and then get into it? So the Supreme Court in its judgment has laid down that conversion for the purposes of remarriage is a sham conversion and is not a valid conversion. So today, if any Hindu husband converts for the purposes of a remarriage, and what they used to do is, Mehnaaz and Saira, that what they used to do is they get converted today at 10 o'clock in the morning and 12 o'clock they get married. So, I mean, of course it was a farce and of course it was something like a hogwash which was there. But the Supreme Court has, severely come down on such practices which are there, which is there to defeat the basic structure of the family and the law which is there. And that is the reason this is no longer permissible. And if any such thing happens, that can be struck down as ultra-virus, the laws which are there. And this will no longer hold true for any person to claim his second marriage or without a divorce or a death of his spouse to be a valid marriage.
Okay, a quick question is what about prenup? How many cases in India do you feel prenup is something I feel really important? It safeguards the interest of the man and the woman. So don't you think it should become some, it's a Western trend, but in India they say if you have a prenup, means are you really planning to head for a divorce? That's why you're planning a prenup. So I think it's a very vital, very important contract, but one must enter into before marriage via a prenup. So are there many prenup agreements, contracts happening in India?
First, you must realize one thing. Today, as we speak, prenup agreements are not legally tenable contracts and they cannot be executed in a court of law. However, in the same breath, I would like to say, it doesn't mean that people are not entering into prenups, which is more like a memorandum of understanding between the two parties. That there's A and B, we intend to get married, we are in love, we want to be da-da-da-da-da. And these are the terms and conditions which are there. My property, your property. If we acquire any property during the period of our marriage, if 10 years is there, I get 25%, 20 years, I get 50. So these are the various combinations which we do. But and I also draft it. But when I do, I give a very, very clear instruction that if the husband has come to me for a drafting of a prenup, and if that girlfriend or whom he's going to get married also comes with her, I tell her that she should have an independent legal opinion and an independent legal counsel to that effect, so that she understands and not gets pressurized by the lawyer of the husband, because which is there. So that's point number one. And point number two, I tell both of them that, listen, as we speak today, it is not the law of the land. It is not an executable document like an agreement for sale. I purchase your house. There is an agreement. And suppose if I pay you money and you don't hand over the apartment to me, I can go to a court of law and the court will execute that document. That no, you Mehnaaz, you have to hand over because you received all the consideration. You cannot do that in prenup as we speak. But I'm very sure that at some point of time it will be tested in a court of law. Now, to answer your second part of the question as far as the prenup is concerned, that don't I think that the prenups are essential so that it will cut down a lot of agony to the parties and will also cut down time, money, energies, etc., which is wasted in the courts and the long delay that we take place. But this you're talking about, Mehnaaz, 5% to 7% of the society, the urban metro societies that we are talking about. Please understand, nearly 95%, 90 to 95%, which belongs to tier 2 kind of towns, or even otherwise, where there is no concept, there is no understanding, and there can be blatant misuse of it. Today, when you say it's a Western concept, I understand it's a Western concept, but the situation in India and the situation in the Western countries, there is a huge difference. So today, it cannot be one more tool in the hands of the husbands to be oppressive to the wife, because she's either in love with him or she wants to get married and she's willing to sign on any dotted line. So she doesn't, it cannot be used as one more means of being oppressive. So I think when we talk about prenup, we'll have to strike a balance between the urban metro people that you and me belong to, and to the other section, which is the largest section of the society, which is the tier 2 group, or of the tier 2 cities, or the little, how would I say, towns and townships, things which are there. So I think it'll need a lot of debates. But I must tell you that the National Commission for Women had organized a seminar, which was in Delhi, for whether the prenup should be sort of, introduced as a part of the law, because they wanted to know whether they could introduce, sort of recommend to the Law Commission. And I was invited as one of the persons to give my views. So I think that is something which even the commission is thinking about it, but it's still not sort of, taken any concrete shape as we speak.
I think it makes sense that if both the parties come together and they hack out a solution much before marriage, which is a very sound, not based on emotions, but based on practicality. That if you have so much of inheritance from your grandparents or great-grandfathers, then it must trickle down. What is yours will stay yours. What is mine will stay mine. And what we build together during the course of marriage, like you said, slabs of 10 years or 15 years or 20 years is ours. So I think it makes a lot of sense. So if this thing can be introduced in our Indian culture.
Yeah, so this is exactly what I tell them, that let's be reasonable now. Now, when you're talking about emotions, I think, Mehnaaz, you must understand this, because I deal in this kind of law. So the emotions at the time of getting married and emotions at the time of getting divorced are completely opposite.
Yes.
So you can't say that, you cannot equate those emotions, because when you're getting married, there is love, there's stars in your eyes, and everything looks like, from the rose-tinted glasses. But when there is a divorce happening, there's only negativity, there's rage, there is revenge, and there is so many things that can take place. So I don't think emotions should be considered to be a yardstick to decide whether a prenup should be done or not, because there are two extreme emotions that take place.
Okay, I have my final question that I would like to throw in both for Saira and for yourself. Going to Saira first. Saira, what are your views on marital rape?
See, I'll tell you what, in Indian societies, marital rape was not even recognized, as in recently, because it was considered that women have to endure all kinds of violence, and people don't even take this issue seriously. However, international, globally, yes, it is taken seriously. But it shouldn't become, like I said, I'm all for the Me Too movement, believe all women, but it shouldn't become a weapon to terrorize men, that, okay, I have this Me Too, or I have this marital rape, which is hanging like the sword of Damocles, and, things like that. I feel because that, dilutes the actual, this fight for women's empowerment, when we actually trivialize, such things. So yes, it happens. Women are in very violent marriages, and marital rape is quite a reality. However, it shouldn't become a tool, or it shouldn't become a stick to beat men with, and we shouldn't misuse just because the law is with women. Yeah, yeah.
Going to Mrunalini, what do you think about marital rape? It's not considered still a crime in India? If there is enough proof and enough document or data to back it, it's not still considered a crime. Can someone be penalized?
So I would like to answer this in a different manner. After the introduction of the Domestic Violence Act, that is the Protection of Women from the Domestic Violence Act of 2005, it talks about different kinds of violence. Violence is not necessarily physical violence. It's physical violence, it's emotional violence, it's financial violence, and so on and so forth. So there is a provision in which there is what is also considered in a physical and mental violence, what is known as a sexual violence. So there is a provision which is there. So I would, there may not be the word or the coinage of marital rape is not sort of, formulated, but there is a sort of provision there for which you have. But at the same time, I will tell you, though marital rape would, if it has to become an offense, it becomes under IPC, that is the Indian Penal Code, and whatever ramifications that happen. I completely agree with Saira, and I think that's a very, very balanced view that one has to take. We all are champions of women empowerment. We are all champions of, we abhor violence of any kind towards women, whether it's sexual, physical, mental, emotional, anything. But at the same time, such provisions, we have to strike a balance between the two of them.
Because there's a very fine line between, and what happens between under the roof, one cannot really be a party to till it's recorded or there's enough proof. So, and with so much of uneducation going on in the country and so many uneducated people, how do they really differentiate between consensual sex and marital rape? So there's a very...
So that is what correct. So Mehnaaz, the difficulty that arises again, and under the law that exists in law, it is there. It is the person who alleges who has to prove it. That is how the burden of proof is on me. When I say that this my husband, has committed marital rape on me, not today, not yesterday, but say for the last 3 months, 6 months, 5 years, whatever the case may be, the burden is on me to provide. So it is very easy for me to rush to the police station and say, listen, I am a victim of marital rape. But when the matter stands in a court of law, how well am I able to do that? I'm not denying that there may not have been that. There would have been. May not be as much as you're saying. Maybe it must have been 10%, not 90%, whatever the case may be. But how are you going to prove that in a court of law to be able to do that? As you rightly said, that there are no witnesses, there are no documents.
Right. Right.
These are all parameters of evidence which are there. If none of these things are available, then what can you do? The only remedy, no, I would say the only evidence available is that if there has been a case of marital rape, and where if the woman is hurt physically, and and she bleeds or whatever the case may be, and she immediately goes to the doctor and she gets a certificate from the doctor that this is what it is, and the doctor on examining is able to find out that this is because of some forceful sort of penetration, that is the reason why she's doing that. That could be one proof which is there. But you tell me how many of them are really going to go after a so-called marital rape to a doctor to get a certificate just to prove it in a court of law. Right. So emotionally I agree, practicality becomes a problem.
Yes. So on that note, I would like to thank you. We are running out of time too. It's been a long time. And thank you again, Mrunalini. I would like to have you and Saira again on board of Womanistaan. There's so many different topics, so many different issues that we need to brainstorm on. Thank you so much for coming on Womanistaan episode 6. Thank you for coming, Mrunalini, removing your precious time. Thank you, Saira, again. Look forward to seeing you all. Thank you again.